Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, folks. Welcome to MB Geeks Let's Talk. I am joined by my special guest, fellow YouTuber, and person I respect opinions on, even though we don't always agree on everything. And I like that because I don't want to agree with anybody on everything. I have Orange Hat from Orange Hat Reviews. How you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Ben?
Uh, I've been doing good, taking care of things. So, folks, the whole reason I wanted to get with Orange Hat on this stuff is because we saw the movie Prey. I've seen his reviews. My review was done, but I do a very short general overview. Orange Hat went into much greater detail, and there's been a lot of bigger channels that have just, I think, unfavorably shit on the show, this movie. And Orange Hat and me have taken a little bit of shit for that. I think him more than me. But I want to put this race syndrome to bed because this girl was not a Mary Sue in any way, shape, or form.
No, she
So,
really wasn't.
Orange Hat, you and I think, both agree on the trailer was very misleading.
Oh, the marketing for this movie was atrocious. They they were marketing it as woke. They were marketing it as, oh, she's gonna challenge the gender norms of her society and yada yada yada. And it's like that's turning a lot of people off, including me.
Yep.
Not to mention the context of the trailer does not match the context of the movie. It really doesn't. I mean, when I saw the second trailer and did a breakdown of it, it's like this Yautja is stealing a hunt from another hunter, not necessarily one of its own kind, but one or you don't interrupt another hunt. However, the movie, it's a totally different situation. They the full context shows a completely different situation. Specifically, it's the bear scene.
Yes. And so what we have is when the movie basically starts out, uh, you have Naru, who one of her biggest thing is she has a weakness, and that is what her brother points out, and they misrepresent it in the trailer where they say when she says, "Why do you want to hunt? Because you think I can't." And that was actually completely mischaracterizing the character.
Yeah.
And so, you know the lore more than I do. Why don't you go into a little bit of context about this particular predator and why this one was different?
This one is different from the predators that most people know in the other movies, Predator 1 and Predator 2. One, the predator in Predator or in the original is a far more seasoned hunter. There's a lot of or there's a caste system to the Yautja, which is what the predator species is called. Now, there are also subspecies. This one is actually a lower hemisphere, or is from the lower hemisphere of Yautja Prime, the predator home planet. It doesn't see, or it sees in infrared, but it doesn't see through its eyes. It actually sees through nodes in its brain and what, or through nodes from its brain and whatnot. It interprets and whatnot. So when it was looking at an outline of a cold body and still manages to step on the body, it's because it's really just seeing, or it's not seeing much, or it's not seeing a definitive shape. It's really seeing just the heat blemish or
Yeah,
lack of heat blemish in this case.
yeah, I noticed that when it was looking at, like the corpses and stuff, it could still see like
Outlines.
yes, outlines like in a blue spectrum, like it could still see the blood, even though it was getting cold, and it
Yeah.
could still kind of see that.
hmm
And
Now,
my
to cover or to get back to that, sorry. Um, the difference is, but or because a lot of people are saying that Naru could be Dutch, and there's those memes of where a special op team goes in the jungle, gets slaughtered, and this little native girl manages to kill a predator where the others get slaughtered. It's like you're looking at two totally different predators. This one is having its very, very first hunt on the planet Earth. This predator has never been on the planet before. Also, it was recently blooded, meaning it had just gotten done with its blooding rituals or blooding manhood rituals like they do in AVP. This one had done it on a different planet, managed most likely to kill a xenomorph because that's how you do your your trial of manhood. This predator is probably a few hundred years old, where the predator in the movie Predator was closer to 800, 900 years old. These things have a very long longevity. Or they live up to, I believe, 2,000 years, if I remember correctly.
Now, one of the things I saw that meme you were responding to, and I agree with you, but I take it from a military context differently, uh, but in the same way. You have to look at it as one, these Dutch's team does not know that environment that well. This is a jungle environment. They do not know the lay of the land. They do
Mm-hmm.
not know. Uh, they're going in for a mission, not knowing anything about there being a predator there, and they have to kind of figure that out. And they don't know what they're going up against. They've never gone up against anything like this.
Exactly.
Neither had Naru, but the difference is Naru, like her tribe, the Comanche, knew the lay of that land and used that to their advantage.
Exactly.
And that makes, and when you are fighting in combat, knowing the land, knowing your surroundings is a huge advantage. And
Yes, it
that was
is.
and that was one of the disadvantages of Dutch's team. Plus, they had to over time, as they were going, figure out, like Dutch did, similar to what Naru did, or Naru was had to observe how that predator operated to be able to defeat them.
Mm-hmm.
I found that very similar. And in a lot of ways, people were saying, well, the weapons are primitive. How can they do that? Well, you look at the weapons of the predator and prey, he doesn't have the you
Plasma
know
caster.
plasma caster. No, has that more dart thing. Now I don't know if that came later. It could have been a technology they made later, or it might be something, I guess, as you hunt you get an upgrade.
That's more like it because the Predator, you do not get all the cool weaponry. You do not get all the high tech weaponry. AVP did a good job with or with some of the lore, but they got a lot of it wrong. An unblooded Predator would not get a plasma caster. They're not allowed to have that. That is an advanced weapon. When you have that, and also using that weapon to kill prey is actually less honorable. If you're killing from a distance, that's not really um, seen as an honorable kill. When or notice when this predator in prey killed things from a distance with its arrows, it didn't go for a trophy. It didn't take a trophy. When it
No.
killed with its blades up close, that's when it took a trophy.
Yeah. And you notice through the beginning of this, so we have the scene where Naru is trying to take down uh, an animal. I can't remember the exact type of animal, but it's like a deer or antelope or something like
Yeah.
that. And she shows she has capability of tracking and ability to try to keep up. And then, of course, her dog, which I cannot pronounce its name because I cannot pronounce.
Sorry.
What's that?
Literally, it's literally pronounced sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She uses him to help get the animal near her, which is very typical of what you would do if you're a hunter with a dog. I mean, we've been doing that for hundreds of years as well.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, this is where we find out uh, she just can't complete the kill. And that's really where her frustration is, that she wants to be able to complete the kill. She wants to be able to go and show that she is capable of doing the ritual. Like I said, I cannot pronounce these things very well.
Katamia.
Yeah, she wants to do that. And it when they're giving her shit sometimes, it really comes down to, it's like you're just not ready yet.
And that's another thing. A lot of people are saying that her brother was being an asshole to her after he brought back the mountain lion. It's like he's actually being quite honest with her. He's not being an asshole. He's being honest. He's like, you tried it, you just didn't bring it home.
Yeah.
That is the main point of the Katamia, the trial hunt. You have to kill it, you have to bring it home, but you also have to make sure that what you are hunting is a predator in itself. It hunts you as well. If she would have bagged that bear, she would have been able to bring that home if she wanted to. However, she had her sights on the thing that no one was seeing.
And that was another key issue there. So we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but so we get to the point the predator gets on the ground, the recently blooded one, and
Mm-hmm.
this predator has never been on Earth. So you see, which I thought were very good visual scenes of like the mouse eating the spider and then the snake. And so he is trying to learn what is the apex predator here.
Yeah, he does. He does a very progressive hunt. He goes from the small predators to the bigger predators as he hunts.
And she happens to see the ship going by. Now she doesn't see the ship, obviously, but it
She
kind of looks like,
interprets it. She
yeah,
interprets it as one of her tribe's mythical beasts, which is a thunderbird.
yeah. And she believes this is, a sign, which makes total goddamn sense to me. And, they're saying that, they're not really dismissing her, but when, her mother, I'm assuming that was her mother, uh, that said, "You're good at medicine. Why do you want to hunt?" And then when she said, "Because you think I can't," she didn't, she wasn't, she was just like, her mother was trying to say, "You have other talents. You don't need to waste them. You are valuable to the tribe for what you can do. You don't need to prove yourself in this way." That was how I interpreted it.
And that is a fair interpretation. I've actually discussed it with my family while I was off social media, and one of my uncles, he basically said the same thing. A lot of people nowadays would interpret that um, line as woke. However, if you look at it from an outsider or from a different perspective, you all think that or because you all think that I can't. It's not really her challenging the gender norms. It's her wanting to be or wanting to be more than just a part of or just she's always grown up around her brother and her father gave her a tomahawk. She's always associated that stuff with hunting. So why can't she hunt? Or why can't she also be acknowledged as a hunter? There's no problem with that because there were female warriors, there were female hunters even
Yes.
in the historical record of Native Americans. I mean,
Yes, and the Comanche were one of the most powerful tribes at the time.
they were also very vicious too in certain areas. How and it's like, well, because you all think that I can't. Well, I would to be completely honest, I would actually rewrite that line. That line, instead of because you all think that I can't, I would actually have something like, or more akin to, because this is what I want to be, because this is what I believe I can be, or something along those lines.
That would have probably been a better line. I would agree with that.
And
So,
there's
yeah, go
other
ahead.
lines. I mean, the weakest points in this entire movie was a couple of throwaway lines here and there, where where her fellow tribesmen were making fun of her. It's like, we're not going to be long enough to need a cook. It's like, really? Those are the kind of things that I honestly don't believe, even in historical context, would be said to some. It's like, why? Or they would simply ask, why are you here? We do not need you here. They wouldn't say, well, we don't need somebody who, or we're not going to be long enough to need somebody who can cook. It's like, oh, shut up with the get back in the kitchen bullshit. That's stupid.
Yeah, I would agree. That was a cringe line. But then we get to the point where, and then we get to the point with the predator who sees the. I'm assuming that was a wolf, not a fox.
Yes, it was a wolf.
Okay, going after the
Rabbit.
rabbit and then catching it, and then remember that wolf actually got a bite out of the predator,
Mm-hmm. And
and
that's
I think
another
this.
thing.
And I think the snake even may have got a bite out of it, but I don't remember that exactly.
No, the snake sensed the predator, and the predator had already seen that the snake was a predator. So the second it went to strike at him, it moved quickly enough to stab it through the head.
Now the only thing I had a problem with that with the wolf was, generally speaking, once it had been hit like that, most animals would have just walked away. Very few naturally would do that. Continue to go after that, especially after they had already gotten their food. But
Starving,
yeah, maybe it was starving. That is a total possibility.
hungry.
And yeah, and it did get a bite out of it. So this also showed that while this predator has the cloaking ability, it doesn't have that shield ability that the cloak provides, like in Predator 2, when you had uh what's his name's character? Damn, I can't believe I can't remember his name right
Bill
now.
Paxton.
Yeah, Bill Paxton, his character, the Lone Ranger, he takes shots at it and they keep bouncing off, even though
He was hitting its armor.
yeah, he's hitting
He
its armor.
only hit one shot that actually hit that actually hit skin, and that's when it had enough.
Okay.
Sorry,
No,
I
you're
know
fine.
I know these movies very well.
No.
No,
You're fine. I have no problem being corrected. I'd rather have that because I assumed it was the shielding. I thought the cloaking might have had some kind of shielding on it.
nope.
I didn't
It's
realize it
purely,
was his armor. That
it's
totally makes
purely
sense.
visual.
I got you. And this thing gets hit by the wolf. The wolf actually takes a bite out of him. And we know their medical procedures are quite painful.
Some of
And
them, yeah.
yeah. And then it takes that trophy and it takes the head of the wolf and the spinal cord and does the trophy thing. And I thought the visual for it cleaning it was rather nice.
Yeah, it shows that this thing has, or it was showing the same kind of, or the same essential cleaning situation from the original Predator, but more updated, because the one that they used in the first one, when he rips Billy's spine and skull out, what they show is essentially a fire extinguisher blasting it, but it's not really a fire extinguisher in real life or in the movie. It's something that just cleans off all of the biological sediment off of the skull.
So what we find out later happens is uh, they go hunt a lion. because one of their braves, one of the hunters, has been injured. She goes out to help with them, and then we kind of get that line, and but her brother is very supportive of her coming because he's like, she's a good tracker and she knows medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And those become key factors in there. And we saw her, I mean, medicine, I guess, herbalism, that's what they had.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a good concept of how to take the lion down, and may have, but she got distracted because she saw the eyes of the predator.
She saw lightning in the trees, but she also heard the predator because the predator was probably most likely tracking that lion.
Yep.
However, because if you listen to it with subtitles, you hear growling in the distance or something, or you see the words growling in distance, and that's what causes her to look, and you'll see the lightning cascade of the predator's cloaking, and that's what distracted her.
Yeah, yes, I do watch things with subtitles. Been doing that now for a couple of years. It's kind of hard for me to watch shows without them nowadays.
Yeah, no.
Except for when I watch foreign shows, because the dubbing and the subbing they suck at matching up. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. But yeah, she might have been able to pull it off, but unfortunately, she was distracted by the sound, and then she saw something that she didn't know what it was, and then of course hits her head on the rock. And yes, I will say this, she probably would not be recovered that quick.
Yeah, but she would have been heavily concussed.
Oh yeah, but suspense of disbelief. I'll give them that. We've seen plenty of movies where car crashes go and people just walk away. I can think of a few. And, her brother has to bring her back. And that's what really, I think, dejected her, not because her brother had to bring her back, because she felt she failed.
Yeah. She also felt that kind of cheated, because he also brought it home and they were celebrating what was supposed to be her hunt. It's just that, as her brother told her, you tried it, you just didn't bring it home.
But we get that point. We get the kind of the foreshadowing when she's putting the medicine on the injured brave, and then gives him the
orange Tetsuya.
The orange flower, and it makes him cold, and that pretty much foreshadows what's going to happen in the movie later. But that comes later, and she's like, there was something else out there other than that. And when she saw the tracks in a little bit earlier, she's like, they're like, maybe it's a bear. It's like, maybe, but why is it walking only on its hind legs? I mean, she's not saying it's something else at this point. She's just like trying to figure out, okay, this might be a bear, but why is it walking on its hind legs?
Not only that, what is skinning a snake, or what skinned a snake like that? Yeah, she's finding dead animals, skinned snake, weird tracks. It's out of the ordinary.
Well, and when you look at it from that kind of context too, if it was an animal, why was there any body parts left for them to see? That you don't normally, when an animal eats another animal, it tends to pretty much take the whole thing with it. It doesn't just skin it. So she is bringing up legitimate things. The reason why they're ignoring her at this moment is, kind of like her brother says, we got to deal with the lion right now.
Also, there's still danger, or there's still unsaid danger nearby.
And they have to focus on it. Unfortunately, the way it works is you had to focus on the priorities.
Yep.
And that's what they were doing. And her brother's like, hey, you need to focus on the mission at hand. We can worry about this later, but right now we've got this problem. We got a person we have to find, and we got a lion we got to kill. And yes, he manages to kill the lion, come back. Uh, they have a celebration of it. And, like you said, he goes, when she says she's going to go out and see what was out
Oh,
there, he goes, "You can't." She's like, "Is this permission?" And he goes, "No, it's not about permission." So just because she's a woman doesn't mean she can't go out and look. He's just trying to tell her, look, you haven't been able to bring it home, and you're talking about something pretty damn dangerous.
exactly.
And her mom even says, if your brother needed you, he wouldn't have had to carry you on his back.
Yep.
So there were many issues where it's kind of like, hey, you're gonna have to work on this. And she's good with the tomahawk at the trees, but trees don't move.
Yep. And this shows it too. It shows her missing rabbits when when she goes back out again.
Exactly. And then this is where I said she has a weakness there. And this is where in the Air Force, we used to have this thing when we did our feedbacks. What are your strengths? And then we had to talk about what our weaknesses were. Because if you don't recognize your weaknesses, you can't grow from them. Doesn't mean you can turn all of them into strengths. But, excuse me, one of the things she did was to build from that weakness was put the rope on there.
Yeah. And
which I thought was a very good idea, which actually saved her ass later in the bog.
it and the one thing I would have done a little differently about that scene where she creates the rope and fashions it and then starts to use it, I would have put in a little bit of trial and error where she uses it, throws it, and then whips it back, but misses or gets hit by it or something. Because only shows in the movie that she is very skilled with pulling it back and catching it. And it's like, this is not something that you have done before. This is not something that you would automatically be good at. Now, there are some people who do give that a proper critique, but some of them also go overboard with it. And it's not a Mary Sue moment. It's a moment that is a lapse in good storytelling, just a small lapse. It's like, this is something she hasn't done before. She would not automatically be good at it.
No, I agree with you on that. That makes sense. I didn't think about that, but yeah. So, like for example, my daughter, we went to a convention one time uh, at an Amish place, and this guy was doing tomahawks, and you had all these adults trying to throw these tomahawks, and they weren't doing very well hitting it. And my daughter did fairly well. She listened to what he said, and she took 3 attempts. She overshot once, undershot a little bit, but once she listened to his stance and everything, she hit the wood. Now, granted, it didn't go in the wood, but she still hit the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that showed, progression. And I think if she had more time training, she would be very good at it because she showed she could follow directions better than a lot of adults could. And I was very impressed with that. But
Yeah.
yes, exactly. She's had a lot of training with the tomahawk, but yes, with the rope, yeah, she would. I agree. A little trial and error would have been nice, but maybe they just decided not to do that for timing or pacing.
Well, the scene was small enough. I mean, that even if they did do a trial and error, it would have been only like 20 seconds of time that they could have actually put in.
That's a good point. So, the rope saves her because she's going out, for she's searching for a bear, which is what she thinks it is. That's what she thinks is out there, which makes total sense because that's probably one of the most, other than the lion, that's probably one of the most dangerous things. She gets almost killed in that bog and fails a few times to even get her tomahawk over there to be able to latch on so she can pull herself out, which I thought was good because it was like, okay, if she had got it on the first time, I would have been annoyed.
Oh yeah.
And then we get to the bear scene, and they made it seem like she was trying to hunt that bear initially in the trailer, and we both know that's not exactly how it works. She didn't just shoot the bear because she was trying to hunt it, because she has enough sense to know, hey, this is not, one freaking arrow is not going to do it. It's going to piss the damn thing off. And it's because the bear senses her, chases after her, and she shoots it in defense. And then smartly, I say very smartly, goes into that
Beaver Dam.
Beaver Dam, and is just kind of holding, and she plays dead, holding it. And that's when she sees the predator, and we got a really good fight scene with that predator and him fighting, because that predator took some damage.
Oh yeah, that bear mauled into it pretty well. The whole reason why she went after the bear was because she realized she was upwind of it, and the wind blew, and the bear caught her attention. So she's like, "Okay, I have to put this thing down, otherwise it's going to find me." But her bowstring snapped, and her dog ended up playing decoy. But when this, the one thing I didn't like about the whole scene with the predator is that they forgot when this predator contacts water, when it's cloaked, its cloaking is disrupted. However, this thing was in a river outlet, fighting in the river, and its entire body still maintained its cloak. And it's like, I've been trying to get a hold of the director, Dan Trachtenberg, also other people involved, and it's like, what was the difference between the technologies of this predator and the other ones? However, when this thing is ripping into it, it actually comes up, giving a triumphant roar, and you see predator blood dripping out of its mouth along with some water, which is pretty cool. Also happened with the wolf, when you saw that the wolf's lower jaw had predator blood caked on it.
Yep. So this predator has now been injured twice. So this is the context we're trying to point out to people. This predator was not like the predator in the first movie that was very seasoned and was mostly avoiding injury, except towards much later when Jesse Ventura's character was killed. And that was the first time, she noticed the blood and said anything about it. And then we get to the point where she does the smart thing. She runs. She gets in the river. She runs. The predator does not go after her because he does not see her as a threat. The predator really doesn't know jack shit about humans right now. And that doesn't happen. Huh?
Actually, the predator does follow her. It just keeps distance. This predator is new. It's observant. It observes the area around it, observes the animal kingdom and whatnot. When it sees her, it's curious, so it follows her, because hence why it goes after the when she runs, or because as she runs, she's found by the other natives or her other tribesmen, and it's up in the trees when she gets into a fight with them. And so this predator's like, okay, they know how to fight, they have weapons, but do they know how to use them? After the because she gets caught by them, they tie her up. It's like, you need a leash for your weapon. It's like, if you only saw what she was doing with it. But anyway.
Yeah, I think that was just more of an ego thing. I mean, let's think about it. When you're a hunter-gatherer species, the hunters are probably going to be the most honored among them. So I'm sure many of them had some egos, and I totally accept that portion of it. But she was fighting against them, and she ultimately loses. And it's mainly because, I'm going to be honest, because they were actually, until they got tired of it, they were holding back.
They're job wasn't to hurt her or to maim her or anything. It was to bring her back home.
So they were showing restraint until they were just like, okay, enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
We are done, we are going home. And then the predator comes out, and that's when they, the Braves fight it and actually put up a hell of a fight.
Yep. But the reason, or the only time that it actually does attack them, that sees that they're worthy, is after they kill, or one of them kills a possum. It's like, okay, you've identified yourself as a hunter. You are now prey. That's
Oh,
in the
that's right. They
predator's
did kill the
mind.
possum.
Yeah.
And so, the predator attacks, and they, like I said, they put up a hell of a fight. And they unfortunately get slaughtered, but not for lack of trying. I mean, this predator was very, like, different in the sense it really got in straight in the middle of the fight. It was more brawling
Mm-hmm.
than most of the other predators we had seen.
Oh yeah, this is one that was seeking out physical confrontation. Yes, it would hunt from a distance and whatnot, but notice that after they hit it with the arrow, because or it goes to grab its arrows from the one that it just felled, and it's like, okay, that hurt. Now it's on, and so it fights them both. And the one that shot the arrow at it first is the one that actually gets beheaded by him. He was going to take him as a trophy, except that the other one puts a spear through his foot, and he has to fight that one as well.
Yeah, so again, 2 more injuries to this predator. So this
Yep.
is what, 4 times now this predator has been injured? No, 5
One,
because of the bear.
yeah, one by the leg, or one from the leg on the wolf. The second one was from the bear, getting roughed up by the bear, ripped into. The third was the arrow in the joint between elbow and, or joint just on the opposite side of the elbow. Then it gets smacked a little bit here and there, but stabbed through the foot is its 4th injury.
Yeah, okay, so we're at 4 now. And she runs, she does again. She runs, which makes sense because she knows she can't take this thing on. But as she's been doing this, she's observing it. Then we get to, it kills the other brave that was running with her. And then we didn't talk about this a little earlier, but she gets caught in that, basically that trap.
Well,
And
this is right after it kills that other.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
she gets caught in the trap, and it doesn't see her as a threat now. She's an injured animal, she's an injured prey.
Yep.
And yeah, they do have an honor among them. They don't do that.
It's not only that, it's you have been caught in another hunter's trap. It's out of bounds. They can't, or if they're caught in another, or if their prey is caught in another prey or hunter's trap, specifically a hunter that doesn't know of the Yautja, it will cease its hunt.
Oh, well, that's new knowledge to me, but thank you for that.
You can't take another's prey.
And then, of course, we find, the people who skin the buffalo. I know we skimmed over that, folks, but we're not going
French
through
fur
the entire.
trade.
Yeah, we're not going. And then the French trappers and everything, and they know something's out there,
Mm-hmm.
and they know she knows it's out there, and they bring Raphael in to talk with her to translate, and then we bring her brother. It turns out they captured her brother, and I think the only reason they were able to do that is they just had superior numbers.
Yeah, he was out by himself looking for her on the other side of the pass, according to the other tribes.
And
we got some bots.
who's
How
this?
the hell did 69 Megaton stop watching the stream? Find love? Go fuck yourself. Just
Remove the
block
guy.
them or remove and ban from
Yeah,
channel.
yeah, I just removed him.
Yeah.
Hide from this channel. Whatever. Get rid of this guy.
Yep.
I don't know what this is all about. I don't even do live streams that much to warrant that shit. But
This,
hey, fuck them.
these are the new sex bot virus or thingies that come in. They're not viral, but they somehow manage to come back after you ban them from your damn channel.
Oh well. So we get to the point they use, Naru and her brother as bait, and the predator comes out, and the predator's been observing the trappers, and that's what I call them because there's a key reason why I'm saying that, and pretty much takes them down, but still, there's some, there has to be some strategy to it, and it uses this technology, and like for example, when it had that disc that popped up, they had never seen anything like that. They don't know what the fuck is going on. They
Oh
they
yeah.
don't know what the timer is. So a lot of it was ignorant stuff. And then we have to remember these guns they had. One of the things is all these shots are being fired. Those things were not very accurate.
Well, no, they were powder weapons.
And so, her brother says, "Hey, you were right about the tree thing. You've always been good at this." And it's just like, he's trying to inspire her with some confidence. Tell her, "Hey, you were right about that." And I think that meant a lot to her. And then once once she gets the bear trap over there and, you know, takes the risk of getting her hand chopped off so they can get out, was actually, I thought, a good part. And then, her brother goes and gets the horses. She wants to go get her dog. And then I could see this is the scene where a lot of people would have issue where she just fucking messes all those
Yeah.
trappers up. But here's the thing. She is a trained seasoned warrior.
No, she's not.
No, sorry. She's not a trained seasoned warrior. That's the wrong word. But she has probably a lot more experience in the training than these trappers. And also, they're already freaking out. They're ready to pack up and leave. So she's got the advantage, and still gets a little bit of her ass kicked in this.
I mean, she's trying to go for her tomahawk, yet they won't let her. They keep swinging at her as she does. Not, or also you skipped a little bit over more of the injuries that the predator receives. The predator gets 3 more injuries while it goes into the ash field to go after the hunters. One, it steps on a hidden bear trap because it's
that's right.
it's literally walking through the minefield of traps, missing, or because it can see the ones that are obvious, but then it steps on one, they trip him up and his arm is caught in another, and then he gets shot in the back of the shoulder. So this is a predator that is sustaining injury. This shows that it is not as seasoned as other predators.
And probably doesn't have time to really work on healing them right away. And
no, it's only after he uses his tri-bomb that he ends up taking the time off to heal himself up a little bit.
And then her brother comes by and gets some more hits on him, and then frickin' throws that spear through him. I was just like, holy hell.
Yeah, that was the predator's own spear that he left in the ash field. Tabe, her brother, uses it, puts it right through his arm and shoulder and whatnot, after using it to smash his helmet off. I mean, this is a predator that's getting injured fairly consistently throughout the film.
And she, takes the helmet. She's trying to, she's been observing this thing. And then when you have Raphael, who she gives the medicine to, and that's when she realizes, oh, he couldn't see him because he didn't kill him until the predator stepped on him, and she's like couldn't see him.
Mhm.
And if anybody wants to say, "Oh, well, that's bullshit," I'm like, "Well, yeah, so was the mud the Dutch used. So give me a break."
No,
It's like,
actually, the way the director described it, that mud was actually quite cold,
well, maybe that will work, but I'm saying is
and
in the
it does
long run.
insulate body heat.
But in the long run, either one is still. She figured that out, and then she comes across the leader of the trappers, the one who blooded her brother, and she sneaks up on him, and this guy's probably still in shock.
Yeah, he just witnessed all of his men get slaughtered. She's also learned how to use a powder pistol because of Raphael, the guy.
Yeah, and
He lets
unfortunately,
her. Yeah.
the first time she does it, it doesn't go off because she didn't do it right the first time.
Yep. And so she distracts her. Now, also, we should mention that when this thing's helmet was smacked off and it was trying to shoot the dog and her brother, she noticed that the arrows were sticking where the helmet was pointing. So she understood that wherever the helmet looked, this thing's weapon or arrow shooter, what they would call its bow and arrow, would track the helmet's direction.
Yes, Charlene. Yes, you can have that. Sorry, my daughter was asking if she could have my ice cream sandwich, and I'm like, yeah, fine.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think that the way that arrow system worked in that was sensor driven.
it was laser guided, actually. And yes, it was sensor and laser guide. Basically, how the same premise of laser guided missiles in the military.
Yeah. So basically, painting the target and hitting it.
Yep.
Yeah. And so she takes out the boss man of the trackers, and then
She cuts off his
cuts
leg
his
too.
leg off and uses him as bait, like she was used, and goes into a very I thought very good monologue, in my opinion.
Yep.
And takes the stuff, moves right out of the way. And I mean, she shot that fucking predator at point blank range.
Before we get into that, there's a thing that they actually talked about where it looks like she's whistling.
Mm-hmm.
She or Amber Midthunder didn't do the actual whistle because she did not agree with, or she does the motion of it with her mouth and whatnot. However, in Native American culture, whistling draws evil spirits. That's why her character actually whistles in order to, in her own mind, draw that thing closer.
Oh, so they had to add that in for her because it's like,
It was audio or ADR, audio dialogue replacement.
oh, okay. Well, that's
Essentially.
oh, okay, that makes sense, and that would seem to fit the narrative of the story.
Yeah.
And then,
Now, one other thing before she shoots it, when this predator is walking up, if you look carefully, you can actually see her outline, but not
yes,
specifically her. But yeah, when she shoots this predator, she hits it, or as its head is lowered, so the bullet travels a little bit through the brain and through its skull to knock the helmet off. So now you have a predator with its bell rung and slight brain damage.
on top of everything else it's been injured with.
Yes.
So she, goes through. The predator, of course, comes after her because it wants to him back and now sees her as a threat. And, I mean, she hides from it and then jumps out of the tree and takes her hatchet and fucking hits it how many damn times in the head?
Like, hits it once in the head, it's going for its body, and it then throws her off. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. The one part where you mentioned it, yes, she was slammed down like she was. Yes, it would have taken the wind out of her. But this thing, like you said also in a previous video, is this thing was in shock because it had her dead to rights, and then she got fortunate, and the damn thing cut its own freaking arm off and barely even registered.
Yeah. I mean, with that, there's a lot of thing. I mean, hopped up on adrenaline, part of your brain is destroyed. This thing, or she also was using its own spear. So when he brought up his shield, he slices his arm off because we know that it's razor sharp because he took another guy's head off with it and a tree.
Mm-hmm.
So when this thing is fighting her, it's not fighting her with all of its mental faculties. Now, yes, when it or after its arm is cut off and it grabs her and slams her down, that should have been the fight because there's no way that she could have recovered from that. However, we do have to have suspension of disbelief because if you think about it, the fight should have been over between Dutch and the Yautja when it went hand to hand with him because it was beating the ever loving shit out of the man where his face was all bloody in certain shots. I mean, when they were doing the cutting back and forth of him getting hit, they have a full cut where he's spitting out a gout of blood. So yeah, you have to have your suspension of disbelief.
Because
otherwise, these movies don't make sense at all.
Well, Dutch should have pretty much had severe brain trauma from that.
Who says he didn't afterward?
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. And then, but she uses, like I said, this is where the key part comes in too, is she uses the area that she knows the bog, and sets up a trap for it, gets it in the bog, and actually she has a secondary plan just in case this thing can get out of the bog, because it gets in the bog, it basically looks like it's going to drown, then it pops back out, and then she has the mask over there, and it senses the predator and puts its own weapon. I mean, she uses his own weapon. I mean, they use a lot of their own weapons against the predator, which was one of the first times we've ever seen that.
Yeah, that uses its own weapon against it because this thing is already injured, pissed off, enraged, in shock. It has wounds that are getting infected from the bog. This thing is just sick and tired of this hunt. This thing wants to finish this hunt. So it pulls out its ranged weapon because it obviously can't reach her. And it's not thinking about the where its helmet might be.
Yeah, and that's when the mask senses this and is like, shoots it, and then you see the look of almost shock on the
predator's face
before she takes it out, and then she lets out a war cry and brings the head back, and then tells the people we need to move, which is not unusual when you have a threat around.
Yep, there's danger nearby. We need to move to easier protected ground.
Yeah, and I mean, she comes back with the head, and she didn't just do it by herself, but she did use observation, like Dutch, and Lieutenant Hartigan. She, used observation, used logic and reasoning, used the surroundings of their area to build up a defense. And she looked, that's how she beat it, because and that's the thing. She lost in several areas before she won this. I mean, this was a heroine's journey, much like Hartigan and Dutch's were heroes' journeys. Harrigan, yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
No,
there's a lot of people calling him Hartigan for some weird reason. It's like, did they not watch the movie Harrigan?
I don't know why I'm saying Hartigan. I think I'm referencing
you probably saw you you probably saw one of the memes about Harrigan, but they spelled it Hardigan.
You're probably right. But yeah, the she used observation, she used logic, and we saw a lot of people kind of shitting on the movie and shitting on people because it's like, oh, it was it was like they went in with blinders and had what I called the race syndrome, because we all know Ray did not have a heroine's journey because
No.
she never lost.
No, she was. I mean, yeah, she had her little angry moments here and there, but she was always spectacular at everything else. It's like that doesn't make sense, man. And Pete, the video that I did, it's like, has Hollywood ruined people's perceptions or their ability to think objectively? Because if we've had all these crappy female lead movies out there over the last few years, a couple of exceptions with Alita and a couple other movies, but this movie was done right. And people are just like, well, there's no way that a Native woman can. I said the same damn thing. There's no chance that a Native woman is going to take on a seasoned hunter. Well, turns out it wasn't seasoned. Turns out it was injured throughout the film. And it turns out she was observing all of it. So yeah, this film was done right. And I admit, even in my other videos, that I was wrong to judge the film before it was even released.
I was in the same boat when I saw the trailer. I thought we were going into a woke film, and then within about 10 minutes I was just glued to the TV. I was like, damn, this is not what I thought we were going to get. And when it ended, I was like, holy shit, that was good. I was like, and this is what we've been asking for: strong female characters complemented by strong male and other female characters. And she had a strong complemental character. Hey, Carlo, how are you doing, buddy? In her brother, who was not a dick brother.
No, he actually supported her. Yet the trailer actually did him quite the disservice, because it's like, or why do I need to be protected from a bear? It's not a bear. It's like, you're making him out to be an asshole to her in the trailers, yet he's one of her strongest supporters in the movie. He tells her, bring it home. This is as far as I go.
Yeah. And that was the key thing, because he knew that it was that it was going to get him. He's like, this is as far as I go. I accept my fate. Bring this thing home. Hey, Arabic Sunder, how you doing, buddy? We're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes. But if you guys want to catch the whole hour of it, be my guest. We really kind of went into why Naru is not like Ray or any of these other crap characters. And this was the key thing. I was when I did my video after I saw your thing where you were getting some shit for it, and I felt, like, no, I'm going to defend Orange Hat on this because this is bullshit. And look, if you don't like the movie, that's fine.
Yeah,
but at least be able to articulate why you don't like the movie, and stop comparing it to the other crap we've gotten, like with Ray and those other ones.
I mean, yeah, there's these folks. We know that we've already been slammed with a bunch of false, strong female characters, Batwoman, Captain Marvel, and all those other ones, and Ray. And yet, when we finally get one that's actually done competently, that actually is an actual competent, strong female character, we're so blinded by the crap that we've gotten that some of us have failed to see that this was actually done right. Now, yeah, you can have your gripes, you can have your technical nitpicks and stuff. Sure, that's your thing, man. But do not for one moment say that this movie is woke and that she's a whammon and a Mary Sue and other somewhat racist things that other people have called her, and whatnot. Don't for one second think that you're going to make those claims and they're going to stick. because they're not. You're going to have people like me who are going to come out and point out you're wrong in this case. As much as I respect you in other videos and whatnot, I am going to say right now, you're wrong in your assessment because you are not looking at the full context. You are conveniently leaving some of it out.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the biggest problems is people went in with already a perceived bias and could not allow themselves to sit back and enjoy the. I mean, I went in with a little bit of with some bias too. And I was like,
All
like
of
I
us
said,
did.
yeah. And but we both watched and we're like, holy shit, this is actually looks like this is going to be a good movie. And then we get to the end of it and it's like, damn, that was actually a. I've said this. I would put it up there with right on par, maybe a little lower than Predator 2. And I mean, I'll never put anything about Predator 1. That's just the
Yeah.
original.
The
But
original you don't touch. This one is, or my rating is Predator, Prey, Predator 2. This
hey,
was
Mountains of
done well.
Elysium. Good to see you guys. Sorry, I don't know why the notification didn't go out an hour ago, but that's YouTube for you. But yeah, I would say I would put Predator, Predator 2, Prey. But yeah, I can see why you would go that route. I could see anybody putting Predator, Prey, and Predator 2 in those kind of lineups one way or another. It just comes
Yeah.
down to, preference. But overall, the the movie was very solid. It's what we've been asking for. Give us a strong female character who actually has an arc and complement her with strong other characters, whether they be male or female.
Yeah.
And that's all we asked for, and we got that. And yes, I think some people just cannot let themselves um, allow themselves to feel that way and enjoy, a good movie when it finally comes out.
Yep.
Because, and yeah, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, the trailer did not help. That trailer was garbage.
Its marketing was completely garbage because they're saying, well, or their original plot synopsis didn't even feature a predator. It's like this is about a girl named, well, at first her name was Key, which means no. And it's like, and she's challenging the gender norms, and I'm like, oh dear God. And I made that video. It's like, how are you going to have a 100-pound soaking wet female take on a freaking Yautja? It's just not going to happen. Well, folks, turns out that Dan Trachtenberg knew what he was doing. He told the story in a good way. He didn't market it well, but he told the story in the good way. You didn't see this woman bashing on men or every chance she got. She actually respected some of them, but she also did challenge them too. It's like, well, what drove the possum away? You guys aren't listening to me. Well, she didn't say, well, you're all a bunch of idiots for not listening. No, she accepted that some of them weren't going to listen to her, but she still thrived, or she still strived to get them to listen, which finally they did.
Yes. A Psycho Dwarf 9. Good to see you, bud. With that, folks, I hope this helps put the whole race syndrome on this movie to rest because it's not. And with that, folks, we're going to get out of here. Orange Hat, what do you got coming up, bud?
Tomorrow around noon, I have my music psychology stream. Basically, I'm going to be reviewing some instrumental pieces and whatnot. Then later that evening, I got a guest choice review with Annihilus, who's going to be who chose to watch the movie Predator 2. We're going to be breaking it down.
Oh, that'll be nice. I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing that one.
That one's going to be around 9 p.m.
So I'll probably have to catch it a little bit later, but no big deal. And yeah, I've got a couple things I'm going to be doing. I am going to do a quick review of She-Hulk, the second episode. I am gonna go ahead and review House of Dragon, the second episode. I'll probably review the series, and I got to get working on my fourth episode of breaking down the Star Wars EU, the classic EU. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to create videos to help people navigate it because if you didn't grow up on it, it can be rather overwhelming to navigate. And I want to
Mhm.
help people. I want to help people get through that system. And with that, any final thoughts?
Yeah, the best thing that people can do when it comes to movies, go at it from, or yeah, or don't focus fully on the behind the scenes if you're like us. Don't focus completely on the trailers. I mean, yes, the trailers are going to give you or try to entice you or sometimes push you away. But in this case, give the dang movie a chance, and you might be surprised. If you're not, then you can give your thoughts on it. But there are people out there who are able to tell the story right, even though they marketed it wrong.
To answer your question, Arabic Sunder, no, I am not watching Lower Decks. I watched the first I watched the first season only because me and Jack Mears agreed to do that, and I said I am not doing that one again.
Yeah,
I,
especially
I
when they did like a stupid ass porn episode.
yeah, I want nothing to do with that. But with that said, folks, Orange Hat, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I had a great time breaking this down, and you taught me a lot more about the Predators than I knew because I don't know the lore as detailed as you, and I think that was very insightful, and I appreciate that.
Very welcome.
All right, folks, you have a blessed one.